Good morning, everybody. This is Matt Murphy with C Incorporated. We're here for another podcast, and we wanted to welcome our friends from. Am I saying it right? Trolex.
Yeah, that's close enough. I'll do us,
Close.
Matt. Yeah, we say Trolex, but that's all down to the accent, right?
Trolex. Okay. I met them out at one of the safety conferences, and what kind of made me go to their booth is they have a device that allows real-time detection of crystalline silica, which is to me a game changer. We've talked a few times since then. I've actually had the unit in my hand, been able to look at it and kind of play with it a little bit. I think it's a very cool idea that we don't have to just live on table one for MOSHA, and we can actually provide real world, real time accounting of what kind of air we're breathing, right, and protect our workers. So, kind of wanted to kind of start with the basics. If you guys don't mind, just tell me who you are. Obviously, a little bit about the product, and then we'll kind of get into some of the questions, etc., that I have.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Steve Holland. So I'm the MD here at Trolex, based in the UK. So we manufacture the products, design and manufacture all our own products here in the UK. And then I've got my colleagues with me, Adrian.
Hi, I'm Adrian. So I'm the technical product manager on our particulate monitoring. So I work with Steve, helping end users get educated and understanding what the products can do.
Perfect. And for those that don't know, when we talk about silica, everybody knows what asbestos is. Everybody kind of knows what to stay away from lead too much, etc. But when we get to silica, sometimes we get a little bit of a glaze. People go, well, that's only when you're working with concrete, or that's only when you're working with, saw cutting something, etc. Silica is everywhere. So tell us a little bit about the product and how it works to protect our workers. For those that don't know, silica affects your lungs. It creates scarring, right? You're breathing in basically respirable glass. That's the best way I can describe it. And, this is near and dear to my heart because when I lost my dad from COVID, we had several bouts of issues, and mostly because of his lungs getting scarred over the 40 plus years in construction. So, when we talk about silica, it kind of hits home for me. So tell us a little bit about your device and what it does and how it does it.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, exactly as you say, Matt. Silica is a huge problem and goes very underrated, really, considering the amount of illness that's caused from it. And as you say, it's caused by particles basically getting lodged in the lungs and causing scarring, which can lead to lots of different issues, not just breathing and lungs cancer, but lots of other immune system problems can be caused from that as well. So huge problem, and in America and in Australia particularly, they're very, very aware of this all of a sudden. So we've seen a lot of legislation change and a lot of proactivity about it. And we've known about it for many, many years, right? Miners have been suffering with this for as long as we've been mining. And for Trolex in particular, we were always focused on trying to bring new particulate products to market. But silica in particular was a topic that was brought to us actually by NIOSH originally, and by New South Wales government, saying it would be amazing if we could start to think about doing something in real time, and we could detect this compound in real time to see what's really happening. And we took that as a business and as a bit of a challenge 10 years ago, and it has taken 10 years. But what we've got to now is something quite unique. It's a patented product to Trolex. We're the only people doing it. And it's important to state that it is almost a mechanical function, not just a computer algorithm, which a lot of people go, oh, yeah, we've seen real-time particle counts before. You see just putting a correction factor in? No, that's not what we're doing here. So to keep it quite simple, a normal optical particle counter that you can count particles in real time, every second, every 10 seconds, every minute, basically shines a laser at the particles, and it causes a shadow when you count the shadows. That's very, very simplistic, but that's what it does. What we do with AirXS, which is our real-time silica monitor, is we shine the laser through the particle and we count the span of light on the opposite side. So I'm sure you've all seen the prism with a light shining through it, right? And a rainbow comes out the other side. So that's kind of the best way to imagine it. What we're doing is we're shining the laser through it, and providing it's asymmetric and crystalline, what will happen is you'll get a certain span of light out of the other side. Our device takes that span of light, it reads it and it will define it as a crystalline silica particle. So what we can do is see, as if you've got X amount of dust every minute, up and down, we can see what percentage ratio that is of silica. And of course, occupational hygienists in general use the milligrams or micrograms per meter cubed to measure. So we convert it to that for you. And you can see it on the device. You can set little warnings on the device. You can connect it to your SCADA or localized systems if you want, or you can just use our fantastic Breathe software, which is basically mapping this information for you. A lot of people sort of saying, well, we have our gravimetric, we have our 8-hour reading, right? That's what all legislation's, right? 8 hours. But if you're going to be really proactive about managing this, if I come to you and say to you, Matt, at some point today, you drank 2 cups of coffee too close together. Could you tell me whether that was 9 o'clock or 5 o'clock? You probably don't really know which two cups of coffee were too close together, right?
Right.
This is a similar sort of analogy. What we're saying here is, all right, your 8-hour average might be slightly above or slightly below what the legislator's limit is. But if you want to do something about it, you need to know when those peaks are occurring. So is it when the guy just happens to be brushing up at the end of the day? Let's put a control measure in place there. Or is it when we're doing some cutting or drilling or grinding? Or is it something completely unexpected? One of the most common ones is actually lorries. So when the lorries are driving in and out of the site, they cause a dust cloud that can travel for a mile. That causes, 10 minutes after the lorry's been in, suddenly you see a massive rise in silica dust in a certain area. And so the smart guys are taking this information and going, right, we can actually bring our average down massively by controlling 10 minutes of activity here. And then, of course, the beauty is you need to be able to monitor to make sure that's worked, right? So, of course, what do you need for that? Well, you still need your real-time monitor. So, in a nutshell, that's what we've done. It's exciting. It's been on the market 12 months. We've seen a huge adoption. Again, in Australia, particularly, UK, massively. Few slow adopters in the US, but I think this is where we're talking to you about it, trying to make people aware. And now we're really on a roll with it, and hopefully we can get more people involved to provide more data and to understand how we can control these measures that will help people stop breathing in this basically toxic dust.
Yeah, I think it's, again, important. We here in the US, we do a lot of baseline sampling. I think this is one of the few standards personally that OSHA has done a great job of saying, okay, we'll look at this long time data that we've collected, but that's all subjective, right? I mean, if I'm a mason and I'm taking my saw and I'm cutting a block inside of a school, that dust, depending on how much water's coming out, that they say, as long as I use the manufacturer's water or the manufacturer's vac and it's working correctly, that's what we're going to use. And who knows what's correct? I mean, how often do these guys clean the filters, clean the screens, break the saw down, do what they're supposed to do? Or does it go job to job to job or day to day to day? And if we're really going to worry about protecting our workers, how can we do it without real-time data? I mean, I don't see it.
That's 2 really good examples there. Is one, you mentioned the water suppression. So what happens when the water is on the cutting tool? It then runs off the cutting tool, off the slab onto the floor. It dries. The dust then gets airborne again. So you've got a control there that is working to a certain extent, but how are you checking what happens afterwards? And again, you mentioned extraction units. Are people checking when the filters are full? So are you switching on your extraction unit? That's making a hell of a lot of noise, and you're patting yourself on the back saying, job well done, I've got that extraction. But the filter's blocked and you're getting no suction and you're there without the proper protection, being exposed. So people sometimes say, well, I've got the control, so I don't need to monitor. But the way I see it, real-time monitoring, A, if you've got the controls, it reinforces if they're working. B, if you've not got the controls, it tells you need to bring them in.
Right.
That's how I simply put it to people is, yeah, great. Use this all together to protect the workers.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I think table 1's a great baseline. And I love that OSHA says, we're gonna assume a compliance basically as long as you work in there per, each and every one. But as well as I do, if the air's not moving that day and you're outside at a saw station, you might be breathing in a lot of dust. Whereas your baseline results, there was a little bit of a breeze, and that, that's getting out of your respirable zone. one thing that I thought was interesting about your unit is it kind of, I don't want to say, how do I say it? It basically, tries to duplicate breathing, right? It's not a vacuum. It's not something on the lapel that's sucking in particles on its own. It's allowing it to come through the process and again measure through the light. So I thought that was interesting. It kind of imitates your breathing. I mean, it kind of imitates a person breathing rather than a machine vacuuming at a certain suction the whole time.
Yes, yeah,
So
that's right. It has a flow rate going through it that's calculated, so you get the right measurement on the back. But that's just all the internals are working, so it's not sucking the air in. It's just going through at a really controlled rate. We get the accurate reading, so when it's saying how many milligrams per meter cubed, we know how much of that air has gone through.
right. And I love that we have an actual level of, 0.25 and then, our time weighted average 0.5. That's great.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Most people go, oh, okay. Yeah. They have not a clue how little bit of dust that really is, or silica that really is. What is it? 0.25. Not that I have any hair, can fit on the end of a human hair. So, breathing in what can go on the end of 2 human hairs, basically, and I'm putting myself at risk. So they don't really understand that. I don't believe.
And there needs to be huge education. You mentioned asbestos earlier on. If you used to walk down your local high street or stand outside of Walmart and ask 100 people walking in, do you know about asbestos? I'm guessing you get 90%, depending on the age of them, say yes. If you ask, do you know about silica? If you get a handful, apart from those little packs that come in the bag with a mobile phone, that no, this is the whole industry, the whole safety industry has really got to educate the guys and girls on the tools about what the dangerous substance it is. It's people are really wary about asbestos. We've got great controls. We just need to get the message out about silica and how dangerous it is and protect people.
For sure. And again, from personal experience, my dad worked in the industry for over 40 years. He did everything: painting, carpentry, demolition, residential, commercial, you name it, he did it, and so did we. I mean, all 4 of his boys were in it at some point or another. I got into safety early on, thank God, but I was a demo guy when I was a young teenager. I would, you blow your nose, you have that nastiness, and most construction people get along with that and understand that. But seeing his struggle, like if he got pneumonia, to clear that, because that scarring creates almost folds, right, in the lungs, and that can kind of hide in there, and the medications can't quite penetrate it. And to watch him go through that, that I think, as much as I wouldn't want to video all that, but I would want people to understand that experience from their children's perspective or their family members' perspective, because let's face it, in construction, we got a lot of macho bravado, I don't need this, I don't need that. And now we're going from hard hats to helmets, and there's a lot of change going on right now. That's why I think this is kind of perfect timing for this tool, because you do have a lot of people starting to understand the health side, the long-term side, they're seeing their parents go through this. They're seeing the effects of this. Especially, my masons and people like that who are heavy in silica all the time. And it's a tough thing to go through. And I think that personal education, like you said, is very important, very important.
And I'm just going to say, if you cut yourself on the job site with a saw, you see the blood straight away. If you drop a slab on your foot, even if you got steel toe caps, it still hurts. We've got to get the information that even if you can't see the dust can still be there. And in fact, the most dangerous dust is invisible. So when you can see it, the dangerous dust is definitely there as well. Just get people to think about the tasks they're doing and not just think about their safety today, but 40 years down the line when they want to have a happy retirement and go and play ball with their grandkids, they're not going to be able to.
You're 100% dead on. I agree 100%. And like you said, it's not an immediate feedback, right? You don't see it, you don't feel it. Same thing with noise, right?
Yeah.
They'll blast their radios right after a toolbox talk on noise control, but there you go again. But yeah, you're hitting it right on the head, that's for sure.
So Go on, I was just going to say, I don't know the statistics in the US or globally even, and there's a reason for that. But in the UK at the moment, so the UK reporting sort of between 12 and 13,000 people a year are suffering with, they're calling it workplace respiratory disease, right? So something that's been caused by the workplace as opposed to just a cold or a virus or a COVID type ordeal. They're saying 12 to 13,000 a year. But I would point out that at the moment, silicosis is not reportable in the UK. Now, we've just put an action through to try and change that here in the UK. But when people start reporting it, it'd be interesting to see what happens to that number, because I've got a feeling it's going to rise dramatically. You talk about something like asbestos. Horrifically, there are still 5,000 people a year dying from asbestosis that contracted that 20, 30, 40 years ago. So if that 12,000, 13,000 turns into 25,000, 30,000, that's only going to escalate. And I had a really interesting conversation with the president of the AOIH at the British Occupational Society event this week. And they were saying that, you know, it's great now, we're starting to become aware of it, and the heavy duty users, so the stonemasons are starting to get it, and the quarrying guys are starting to get it, and the miners are starting to get it. But actually, they don't feel like they are necessarily the ones at the highest risk from the long-term problem, because it's the construction workers that do it for 10 minutes every 3 hours that think it's not a problem. And that's back to this thing that you can't see it again. The dangerous level is not visible to the human eye, so you need something that's going to tell you. And just to sway off it a little bit, you know, part of the problem is the technology out there already is slow, archaic, maybe not fit for purpose in certain circumstances, and certainly not real time, right? Regardless of how good or bad or indifferent it is. However, it is all quite complicated. It's quite hard to understand. And it made me think of it when you were saying about there's no pumps, there's no filters, that sort of thing. You know, part of our ethos and our strategy here, and with our latest product that comes, that we're just about to launch this week as well, it's all about simplicity and usability, right? I bet you've got 1,000 apps on your phone, Matt, that tell you what your heart rate is and what your steps are, and you know how many coffees you've had today, probably. But you know, we're all used to this simple technology that's readily available now, and I think this is what, as a business, and I think as an industry, we need to do now is take the black art out of these things and accept that what we have is really good for legislation and for measurement. But we can go much further than that, much easier and much better at a lower cost. And we can really drive the educational and the physical change of how we operate to keep people safe. And, you know, Adrian's dad also was a similar situation to your dad. I'm fortunate I've not had anybody in that situation, but I would hate to think that my kids, you know, had to witness me go through that for many years because I was just blasé about drilling a few times a day or cutting something. So I think we really are on the cusp of change. That's the good news. People are getting it. People are starting to talk about it. People are starting to use it. So we are moving in the right direction. But as you say, it's the long-term problem that we've got to solve here.
Yeah, and you mentioned numbers in the US. I just looked it up while we were talking. American Lung Association estimates over 2.3 million workers in the US exposed to silica, and they think 2 million is in construction and 300,000 is in other industries.
Wow.
I would even say it's probably more than that, because they don't realize, you know, again, sweeping the floor, the delivery trucks going in and out, like you're talking about, the equipment. And that was one question I actually had today, but you showed me your cool new toy that you guys just put out. I thought a lot about, you know, a lot of my excavators, yeah, they've got closed cabs, they've got the AC going, they've got, you know, filters in there, and that's great. And that's probably why that's protecting a lot of those industries. But what about our open cab guys? What about our plumbers that are digging and stuff like that? How do we test them in a small cab? And I think you guys just showed me that solution. So can you tell me a little bit about the new product that just launched this week?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So part that we, to give you the full picture very briefly, is we do full particulate monitors as well. So total dust particulate monitors, big ones like the Air XS, similar to that. And we have a product out called XD1, which has been good, and people are starting to use it. It's a small device, but it wasn't truly wearable, and it was still quite expensive. So we've spent the last 2 years developing XD1 Plus, which Adrian's got one I'm sure we'll show you in a second. And that's really to take exactly what we've just been talking about, take this technology to the masses. So it's a much more affordable product. It's small. It's similar to a one gas detector size product. It's definitely wearable. We've got cases where we've got people using it in cabs and trucks and things like that, where you just fix it in permanently, so you just leave it running there. These things have got warnings on them, so you can set them so that you can have set your STEL or your TWA to whatever limit you want for your environment, and it will give you a little warning, a bit like a gas detector would, right? You know, we're going in a hazardous zone now, so just put your mask on, or be aware, or take action, or leave. And also we've got connectivity with that, so we've got things like Bluetooth apps where you can see the readings live. Now, not everybody will want that. You know, if you're buying these for 20 workers, say, you're not going to want them all checking their own dust. But if you're buying it as a health safety manager or a consultant, you're walking around, it's great because you can see what's happening in real time. You can check where the levels are. You can experience somebody sweeping up, somebody cutting. You can see what that does to the levels there and then. So that's the whole premise around this product, really, is to get it to the masses. You know, we've designed it with a data dock, so a 5-way dock, a bit like you'd have with a gas detector. So you can put these on your guys, got RFID tag, you can allocate it to a certain person. They can just come back and dock it every night. It'll download the data for you. You can go in on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. You can see where those peaks and troughs have occurred. Is it 9 o'clock when the guy sweeps up, or is it 10 o'clock when the truck arrives, or is it genuinely all day? Is that the sort of experiences you get in? So yeah, this is exciting for us. It's not silica differentiating. That technology hasn't been miniaturized yet, but it's still total dust, but it really makes it effective and applicable to people. Hopefully we can put these on more and more people, certainly in high risk areas, to really understand what's going on, and hopefully make sure they're wearing the right PPE, whether they've got the right controls in place, and make a difference. Have you got yours there, Adrian? Can you show us?
Yeah, so it's a really, really small unit. If you compare the size of that compared to my iPhone, you can see the weight, the size of it. It's got a really nice clip on the back, just like you get with your gas detector. Be worn really, really easy within the breathing zone, so you can get really comfortable while working on it. Then also it connects to an app. So what you can see here, very simply, don't know how much glare you're getting off there. You can see a short-term exposure level, a time-weighted average, and also the live data tracking along with the line. And so what I'll do is I'll just put a little bit of dust over it, just with a simple sheet of paper. And then you can generate some dust going through. I'll just connect to the unit. And you can't see this dust, but the unit's going to go and see it. And now you can see this. Oh, I'm just pressing the wrong button, sorry.
Technology company, guys.
You can see that spike going up.
All right.
So that's a real live data. And then now I've stopped tearing and generating that dust. It should start coming downwards relatively quickly. So you can just see the downward curve coming now. So this was on the job site, and I just started my circular saw to cut some stonework. You'd be able to see what was happening, realize the suppression wasn't on, introduce the suppression, extraction, and then you see that dust exposure coming down. So it gives you really, really good data in a package that's really small, lightweight, easy to use, nothing to it, 170 grams. So it's something that's really going to change and get people who have thought about dust before and maybe ruled out real-time monitoring to the cost or the complexity. It's a simple app, what to use on the phone. It's got one button press on the unit, and away you go. Just pair them to your phone. And if you're like working on a big job site, you've got a number of operators with them on, you could go around as a health and safety stroke site manager, and when you get near them, connect your phone to them, see their levels, all real time while on the plant.
Oh, wow.
Really, really accessible data. That's going to help a lot of people. So like Steve said before, it's design simplicity, one button, you can just see it's just got a pulse going through, showing it's on. And this is to get more people interested in looking at what their dust is. When I tear the paper, which generates dust, you can't see anything, but it's there showing on the unit straight away. So going back to that education piece with people, that just because you can't see dust, it doesn't mean it's not there. Let the technology tell you what's there, and then look at how you can protect yourself from it.
That's really interesting. And so this unit doesn't differentiate between any type of dust. It just tells you have particulates, and it's going above a certain level of particulate.
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
take your other unit and put in that area because you've created a hot zone, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really a complementary unit to your other unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the savvy customers with our older version of this that was a bit bigger, they're doing exactly that, Matt. What they're doing is they're taking both sets of data and they're going, right, okay, I can see in this general area we have a 10%, 20%, 30% silica content, and here's the total dust level, so you can kind of derive it from that anyway. But they're getting a really good view of what's happening and what's causing both the silica rise and the general dust rise. I mean, one question for you, and you know, I'm sure you'll have the same answer as I would have expected, but you know, how do we make change? Let's stop talking about the monitors for a minute. As much as I want to talk and promote our monitors, let's talk about the problem here. The problem is how do we create change, right? It's all very well having a process or explaining, you know, going buying respirators, PAPA, or whatever it might be for all you guys and saying, right, you've all got to shave now, you've all got to wear these things, you've all got to do it, right? What's the biggest problem there? I mean, my opinion is people don't follow those rules, right? They go, oh, yeah, we'll do that. And then they leave and they don't. And I think a common question is really, how do we start changing the culture and the mentality of people to realize they're putting themselves at risk by not following our own guidance or understanding the problem? And with dust, the problem has always been, we can't see it. It can't be that bad. And I think we're at a stage in history really where people are now not scared of data anymore, but actually appreciate it. Again, I go back to the phone or the watch that tells you how many steps you do in a day. People suddenly started taking an interest now. Actually, you know, is this good for my health? Is this affecting me adversely? And I think that's where real-time data can help your general health and safety manager, your occupational hygienist. This is where we can really make a difference in actually having an impact. So the legislation is great, the controls are great, but how do we make sure it's happening? Well, you find people that you trust on your sites to give them these monitors and allow them to see when they're exposing themselves to dust. Don't be scared of it. Don't hide away from it. Don't tell them not to worry about it. Just wear this monitor. No, show them what they're doing. Show them when they're drilling. Show them when they're sweeping. This is what you're breathing in. You know, this is your life we're trying to protect. And I think as part of that education and influence and culture change thing that, you know, any real-time monitor is the way to do that. You know, telling somebody that they're exposed to 0.25 milligrams per meter cubed over 8 hours means nothing. I mean, it means nothing to somebody that sits and looks at 0.25 milligrams of dust every day, you know, because it's insignificant. So I think this is where hopefully some of your listeners and your customers and the people you talk to every day will really start to see, actually, you know, this is a positive tool. This isn't me putting something on somebody so we can catch them out. We're not filming what they're doing. We're not telling them when they're working or not. Actually, all we're doing is saying, whether you're working or whether you were sat having a coffee when you shouldn't have been, wherever you were sat, you were exposed massively to dust. You need to start thinking about that. And that for me is actually the game changer in this. You know, yes, we're a business. Yes, we want to make money out of our products. Yes, we want to grow. Yes, we want to develop more. But actually, there's a big purpose here. The owners of Trolex were in the mining industry for many, many years and lost many, many people in their family to black lung and silicosis over the years. And it's a real passion for them. We started in gas detection, but this was always the passion. This is something they've wanted to do. And I think together, you know, with other companies developing products like this, with people like you that understand what we can do, I think we can really start to enlighten people about what they're being exposed to. And if they're going to do it themselves, it's much more regularly going to happen than somebody's forcing somebody to do it, right? So
for sure. I mean, you know, the big difference between this and electricity is usually, you know, invisible too, but it can kill you in a heartbeat. You know, it's going to kill you over a long period of time, and it's going to hurt the whole way getting there is usually what I like to say. So, yeah, I mean, this is huge. I, of course, saw it, talked to you guys. We've been in conversations again and again, been trying to get you guys on here, and I'm glad you guys took the time to do it. That's for sure. So, you know, if there's anything you guys kind of have that you want to share, we'll go ahead and get that out there. I'm sure Caroline will put a link to your product and your rep here. It's incredible. I hope a lot of GCs, and I think, you know, talking about kind of the evolution right now, we're immediate, right? If you don't get Remember back when we had pagers and even before that, right? People had to wait 10 minutes to get an answer, and it was amazing. Now, if it's not within 30 seconds, they've already moved on. So having this immediacy that you're talking about, I think, it legitimizes what the hazard is. And I think that's huge. Number two, with these general contractors and managing contractors out there, we're really seeing them get competitive in the safety side now. It's not just, one big one says we're going to helmets. All of a sudden, the top 10 in your area, then the top 50 in your area are all requiring helmets instead of hard hats. Any of this stuff starts to go on and on. Once they start getting a product like yours out there, people are really going to have to start figuring out this respiratory protection stuff and really protecting people. I think we've got a good baseline. I think OSHA's done a great job of kind of using the scattergun approach to take care of the masses. This will hone it down on making sure that if I have 20 employees, all 20 are safe, right? And that's really, if you're a safety professional, that's what you're charged with at the end of the day. If you care about whoever is working for you, that's what matters at the end of the day. So I think you guys have done a great job with this, and I'm excited to see it out there. That's for sure.
No, thank you. It's amazing. Look, it's great. We're spreading the word. It feels like the start of a curve, the start of a journey for everybody on real-time monitoring when it comes to dust. And the more we can spread the word, the better for everybody. And the more we can keep developing our products and make them easier and simple for people as well, which is always great. But I really appreciate the time. And of course, if any of your listeners want to, they can, I'm sure, like you say, we'll put a link onto the website, but they can get in touch with us easily, and we'll happily talk them through our products or our certainly experience of what's been going on.
That's great. Adrian, I think I talked over you. Go ahead, Adrian.
Yeah, just going back, it's really about raising the awareness, just to get that 100 people knowing about asbestos and another 100 people knowing about silica. That's what we really need to drive to. And then when they know about it, understand it, think what they're doing in their workplace, and making sure they're going home safe, not just for today, but for that long-term distance retirement or whatever, which is hard to think about sometimes, but they want people to be healthy long-term.
For sure. That 100%. I think we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for joining us. We'll probably be joining each other again down the road. There's a lot that we can go over under this. We just kind of wanted to scratch the surface. And if anybody has any information or any questions, and we'll put that link up, but I'll also have some information so you can reach out to me. We'll get you whoever is helping them out here in the US with distribution. We'll try to put their contact information up too. I said from the get-go, I don't want this to be a commercial, but it kind of is when you're the only person in the market doing what you're doing. So I think it's important that people know that there is a tool that can be used like this. And we want to bring a lot of this content on. So if you like this, that's great. Check out more of our podcasts, sign up, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Check us out on Facebook. And we will be back out with something else new here in a few weeks. So we appreciate you checking in again. And again, thank you both, and can't wait to work with you guys in the future.
Thank you.